Hello and welcome. It's Tony Amos here from Electronic Signs, and this is a video tutorial to show you how to create and send messages to your electronic sign using 4G communication and the colorlight software. And here we go. So the 4G connection simply means that you can upload your message via the cloud. So you basically just use a website. So that means you can use this software on any device, including your iPhone. And we would have already provided to you the URL, which is up here, au.colorlightcloud.com. Color is spelt in the American fashion, so you need to go to that website, and then we would have also provided you with the username and password, and please keep this secret. So when you first log in, you'll see this page. This is called the terminal page. It's really your home page, or acts as a home page. So whenever you're not sure, it's always good to go back to terminal. Just a couple of pointers here for easier viewing. Firstly, this is the main menu that you work with. So you can click that fold, and that shows you what each of the contents are in the menu. And also, you can use the old shortcut Control plus or Control minus to manipulate the size of your screen. For example, here we go. I'm pressing Control minus and Control plus. It's not working on the home page, but if you go to any other different page, it then works. So for instance, for the benefit of this tutorial, I've got everything quite big. So how I've managed that is to do Control plus. At any time, you can always take your screen back to where it was before with Control minus. First thing we're going to do in this tutorial is to check what message is currently displaying on the sign. And this is one of our clients, Delamaris College. Thank you for agreeing for your sign to be on our tutorial. So this sign is currently live. So to check what message is currently running, and you may always want to do that when you first log on, you click that arrow there, and as you can see, you just click screenshot, and that gives you a very good view of currently what is displaying on the screen. This is exactly what it is, a screenshot. So because it's the cloud, if there are a few messages, you may have to then click the screenshot again, say in 5 seconds time, if you have a series of messages to see what's currently running. Also, you can click here, the contents, and you can see which program. There's a program message called HSC Good Luck that is currently playing. The green around the terminal means that your sign is online and it's functioning correctly. If the green icon isn't on, please report that to us, because there's obviously a problem with the communication to the sign. The next thing we're going to do is to edit a current series program message that you've put up on the sign. So to do that, we click the contents menu, and here you can see the edit icon. I'm going to edit this particular program, Contents 9579, because that's not running live at the moment on the sign. So I click the edit icon. It takes you straight into this screen. Here's the name of the file again, Contents 9579. The first thing I want to do, if I want to add more messages to this is one screen. I want to add another page or another screen. So I click this plus button up here, and then you want to add your content, so you click this button down here. I wish to add a text message, and it will be multi-line, so I click Add Multi-Line Text Window. And as you can see, that is the preview screen showing what will be displaying. So I'm going to, just in case, because this is a live sign, I'm going to write sign under test. Next thing I might like to do is to change the font, which I do here. Yep. So for argument's sake, we can change the font to something different. What we do recommend, however, is when you're using fonts and electronic signs, is that you typically you should use a font that doesn't have curls on it to use a technical term. So Arial doesn't have curls. Something like this does have curls, and it may be a little bit more difficult to read digitally. So we do recommend that although some of these fonts can look pretty, for easy reading, you might want to start with Arial, Calibri, those sorts of fonts that don't have curls. Here is where you can easily change your font size, and this is where you can center your text. You can also manipulate the layer. This is called the layer. So for instance, that message will now appear in the first half of the sign, and whenever you use this to change the appearance of your sign positioning, you can always use this to maximize back. So this is a really handy little tool here, maximize, if you start playing with layers. Also going to give this a fancy background color. So let's have a look. And this is under effect, where you can change the background color, and have a look there. So now we've changed the background color. It looks like we need to change the font color, and let's just make that black for now. And there you have it. Actually, why don't we just make it green? Stella Maris colors are green. Or you may want to add a single line text message. So you just use this function here. Sign under test. Maximize to the whole window. And looks like we need to change the font. And it just works the same way. So that's how it's pretty simple to write a simple text message, single line or multi-line. And of course, what you always need to do is you need to click save. I'm not going to do it here because the site is live, but just click save to make sure that you've obviously saved all your work. I want to go back to the initial screen that you had, and you may want to edit that. So you just use the same process. Welcome to Stella Maris College. You can play with it with formatting, etc. So you can play with your file as much as you like and save it as much as you like. It will not display on the electronic sign until you send the message to the sign, or in technical terms, publish the content or publish the file. So how you do that is you click the contents file. And so for instance, if we're publishing this one here, we click on publish, and then you click the submit tab. So I'm not doing this now again because it's a live site, so it's pretty simple. You click publish of the file that you wish to publish, and then the one we've just been working on is this one here. And then a window comes up, and then you just click the submit tab. You've done that, it's a good idea to check that it is actually displaying. So once again, how to check your screenshot is going back to your home page terminal and doing a screenshot, and that is still displaying. So that's good. I'm going to set up a brand new message file rather than editing an existing file. So to do that, you click contents because you're adding contents, and then you click this plus button up here, and it's a brand new program file. First thing you should do is name your new file. I'm going to call this Tony Test. And then you just use exactly the same process to add your content as what we've already been through, and then of course to save your work. But then of course you then need to send that new program file to the sign for it to display on your electronic sign. This software does also allow you to create templates. So for instance, you may want to set up a Christmas message template or a security message template that you can change. So you can also do that if you like. And this is where you can change the size of the preview window to whatever suits. One I didn't talk about earlier is this one up here. This is your global background color. So every screen will have this as the background, whereas when we looked to change the background of a particular screen, remember we did it like this, and we went to background, and that will change it just for that particular screen, for example. This is where you can use layers for effect. So for example, it comes up by default only on a quarter of the screen, but it's easy to manipulate it, or of course you can go back to using this button here. Notice it's gone too because we've set up purple as the background for this screen. That's how that works. So to bring that back, you can just go like that and manipulate however you like. But of course, don't forget to center your text because it always looks much better. So for instance, we might have text on this side and then we may upload an image on this side. So I'm going to add another layer on this same page. So we simply click this button here, add multi-line text, and there it is, and then you can manipulate it and drag it to wherever you like. You can really set up as many layers as you like, but remember, this is all about readability. So if you have too many layers, the sign's going to be too hard to read. You really want to get your messages out there, and you want people to understand that the messages that you're putting onto your sign. So while the layers are great and they may look pretty, you've got to remember what's your primary purpose of the communication. And if you've got traffic or you've got people walking past, you want to make sure that they're actually going to read the message within that short time period when the message displays. And I didn't talk about last time is page duration. So you can choose for how many seconds that page displays for. Looks like 6 seconds is the default. But I think the best way to look at this is to look at your own site. So for instance, if you've got cars driving past, you may want to display only 2 messages for cars to see. So you just have to work out for yourself what's the appropriate amount of seconds to display message. If you've got a sponsorship agreement with an advertiser, that's when you can specify, if you said you're giving them, say, 6 seconds every minute, well then that's where you can make sure that they get their 6 seconds. Next thing we're going to do is we want to add some images to our sign, but before you add any images to your sign, you need to upload them to the cloud, to your cloud program, and that comes under media. So if we click media, we can see that there's already been quite a number of images here uploaded. Some of these are my test images. To do that, all you do is click this file upload sign and you click that select button, and then you choose your file as in a normal situation, and then you make sure you click upload. Your images should be the size of 256 × 128 pixels, but I'm going to spend a little bit more time on that later in the tutorial. If you have images to upload, I suggest you do that prior to setting up your message program, rather than interrupting your work and perhaps losing your work because you're going from window to window. Have a think about the program you're setting up. If you're going to be uploading images, upload them all first prior to setting up your new message. So we've got all the images uploaded that I want to use now. So I'm going to upload an image into one of my message programs. To do that, go back to editing one of my programs. I'm going to do this one here. So to add an image, I want a new screen. Again, press the plus button. And for an image, it doesn't actually say image, but you do add file window. And then you click add material. And I've actually saved some images in a folder called Tony Test. And let's, for example, let's upload this image here. And then you click submit. You can manipulate the size of your image using this software. You can do it in 3 different ways. So firstly, you may want to look at crop. So you can see it's not showing all the image, but we're going to keep out a little bit of information if it's not so relevant. So for instance, there's a robot there, so we want to get the robot in, and then we click done. You can click the maximize icon, which is a good thing to do. And while it's uploading to the cloud, it takes a while to click in. The other way is this is quite a good size sign, but if you compare that sign to here, you can see that the faces are a little bit stretched out. That's because the file is 700 times 600 and is not the desired size pixels, which is on the sign. So you can simply manipulate the image like this, and now you can see that it is the right size. You're not stretching out the children's faces anymore, and because it doesn't cover all the sign real estate, you may want to position it in the middle. You can use layers if you like. So for example, I'm going to put that image to the left without squeezing it up too much. Then on the same page, I'm going to add a multi-line text window and say robot coding. Obviously we need to change that layer. Just trying to work out where it is. There it is. Let's change the font. It's not quite right. Or is it? No, it's pretty good actually. Just a matter of playing with it to position with it. And there you have it. So generally you would save your work. I'm not going to in this case, so I can just click terminal and that will not save any of the work I've just done. And what I'm going to do now is to set up a schedule to play this particular file or the file that's currently running. So for instance, we do recommend for electronic signs positioned with passing traffic or even in residential areas that you only play your sign during daylight hours. So for instance, you might want to set up a schedule for your sign to start displaying at 7 AM and then to stop displaying at 6 PM in, for instance, non-daylight saving. So to do that, you click the schedule menu. You need to identify the group, and it's always the same group because it's the same terminal. So for instance, you may have different signs. So you would have different groups if you had different signs set up at your school. So you click the one that you want to do. There's no content, so we can see now that there's no current scheduling on this sign. We are going to set up a schedule, and this is where you can just use this to specify is it valid week, valid day. It's pretty straightforward to see how you can use it. Obviously it's a 24-hour clock. This could be set up, it's already set up to start at 6 AM, to switch on at 6 AM and to switch off at 6 PM. You've got different modes up here. You've got rotation mode. All the rotation contents of this will play in turn. At any specific time, the priority level is spot mode, rotation mode, spare mode. So what that means is any schedule that's set up as a spot mode, that will take over from everything else. So you can use spot mode as, think of it as like an emergency message. So for instance, you may wish to say that the athletics carnival is cancelled today due to weather. So in that case, you will put it on spot mode and that would overtake any file that any program file that you have running. Once you've set your schedule, made any changes, you need to click the confirm button down here. I'm not going to do it again here because it is a live site. Some of the other functions you can display on your sign, they're all down here. We're going to look at clock, countdown or timing, weather and temperature. So let's look at the clock window. This is really a countdown feature. Not the clock window, the timing. So let's do that again. Add timing window. This is what we want to work with. And let's have a look at timer style. Single line looks a bit messy, so I like to just go to multi-line view. So let's say we want to do a countdown timer. And for example, you might want to say to Christmas, or it might be a competition or a carnival. There are so many days, hours, minutes and seconds. How scary is that? Let's have a look at the arrival time is obviously for Christmas is 25th of December. And then this will be 11, you can do it this way if you like, but well, it is 59. You can do it this way. Won't let me go 59 there quite easily, so you can just go like that. So there you have your shopping days until Christmas, and again you can manipulate the text like that or you can maximise. Date there, it should be 25th of the 12th. 25th of the 12th. Next is your clock window, the one I started with. And you might want to, instead of fixed text, you might want to say time in Manly, Sydney, up to you. That's how you do your clock window. Next one is a weather window. I want the weather to be Beijing. So say Sydney, New South Wales, load success, and of course we want it in Celsius. And let's just make sure that that is showing properly. So again, let's center it. Can't actually see the center function here, but you can change, well, we don't need the wind, we don't need the humidity, etc. You can change it from a multi-line view to a single line view, and that does center it. So you may prefer just to use the single line view so it's centered. Temperature 17 degrees today. I think I will take out the Sydney, New South Wales AU, and it's still loaded, so all is good. And don't forget, you would then save your work. And now we can add temperature. So that's environment window. And you can use current temperature or whatever words that you want to use. And obviously you'll use Celsius, not Fahrenheit. And that's where you can also change the background colours of the fonts, etc., and size of the font. So that completes using the tutorial for the colorlight software. What I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on now is how to change the size of your image files. You don't need to watch the rest of this tutorial if you're a graphic designer and you already use Photoshop and so forth and know all about image sizes. All you need to know is that the optimal image size is 256 pixels wide and 128 pixels high. So that's assuming that your sign is 256 times 128, and that is what we've set up here. If you've got a much larger sign, it will obviously be different measurements, but for most of our signs, they are that measurement. That also means it's 2:1 ratio. So for instance, the width is 2 and the height is 1. The reason why that is the optimal is because by having any image that is exactly 256 times 128, it will cover the whole real estate of your sign, and it's the optimal way to display your image. If it only covers like most of it, that's okay too, but we're always aiming for 256 times 128 if possible. People use Photoshop, for example, but that costs money. We're going to quickly show you a way now that you can use software that's available on your Microsoft computer. Sorry, this won't help you if you have an Apple computer. And most people with Apple computers have a little bit of graphic design skills generally. And it's called MSPaint. So let me show you how it works. So here is one of the images I wish to upload to the sign. Run your mouse over it and the size of the image should come up. Sometimes you've got to play around with it to come up. It should come up straight away. I'm using this video software, it's playing up a bit. So generally when you run your mouse over it, you'll see the size come up. If it doesn't, you can always right click your mouse, click properties, and go into details, and you can see here that the width is 3264 pixels times 2448 pixels. The size of this image is way too big for the sign, and this was taken, this is a photo that I took from my iPhone. So for instance, you might take pictures with your iPhone at a swimming carnival. So while you can directly upload it to your sign, you need to using your iPhone on the day, so it's all ready for the students to see when they go home or the following morning. You've got to make sure that your image is not too big firstly. And so for instance, if we're looking at, it should be 256 times 128, that is way too big. And because this is taken from my iPhone, have a look at any photos that you take on your iPhone. They're quite large and you'll see these sorts of thousands of numbers. So we need to resize this photo. Let me just see again if running my mouse over it. Okay, that time, just running my mouse over it without clicking any buttons, it's showing me the dimensions, 3264 times 2448. So that's good. So what we do to use the MSPaint software is we right-click, hover over the image, right-click, and you go to Open with MSPaint. And there you have it. That's where the software is. I didn't even need to load it on. It was already there. Now, as you can see, the image is too big, so we click Resize. Looking for 256 pixels wide, which is your horizontal. So click Pixels, and then you can just do the horizontal. Make sure you maintain aspect ratio. Don't change the vertical because you may change the shape of your image. The maintain aspect ratio is all about maintaining the initial integrity of your image, so you're not, for example, squashing faces. So in the horizontal, we want it to be 256 wide. And we click OK. And now it's the right size to upload to the sign, and there's no possibility of the cloud software knocking it back. It should easily upload this image. But as we know, we want this to be 256 times 128 ideally to fill the total real estate of the sign. So what we can do there is 258 times 192. It's really a little bit too high. We just prefer it to be 2:1 ratio. Crop it. We click Select first, Select all, and then that allows you to pick the crop function. And then we want 256 times 128, so we can move it around this way. That's certainly closer. It's 258 times 146. It's a little bit better. Close enough for good viewing on the sign. You can also go into View and zoom in and zoom out if you want to see your photo a little bit better. Don't forget you've always got the size of your image down here, and this photo is fine to upload to our sign now, but of course we have to save it. So save as a JPEG picture. And then when I name it, I always go Cruise, and I actually put the size. 258 times 146 is good practice. So that's how you can manipulate your images to upload to your sign, and good luck with it. It's a really good skill to have, to be able to change images, and you can start wowing all your friends if you start using some of the functions on this too. But the important thing is to make sure that when you initially go in, that you resize and you stick to the pixels. You start with the horizontal with the pixels, and you maintain your aspect ratio and go from there. That's the end of the tutorial. If you're still having images with issues with you're not quite sure how to do something, what you can do is go to our website, electronicsigns.com.au, click on the After Sales tab. Complete this form, mention that you have a user education issue. We do recommend, if you are a new member of staff and haven't gone through a tutorial before with us, that you have a look at this video to see if you can identify some issues. We've also got some notes that you can also ask for to hand over to that staff member. If you have gone through a tutorial with us, please just click this box, say you're an existing user, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can to help you through your issue. Well, thank you for listening. It's been quite a long tutorial, but hopefully now you'll have great experience uploading images and text messages to your sign, and we're really looking forward to what you can create and how creative you can be. Thanks for listening. I'm Tony. Bye.